What started as a way of catching the bar in Olympic weightlifting
Was then used as a stationary exercise by my first knee mentor, Charles Poliquin, to help his athletes win Olympic medals across 19 different sports.
and it has now helped rescue thousands of wrecked lower bodies for hopeless cases like me.
By scaling the route from assisted and elevated
To unassisted to flat ground, which helped me stay off painkillers and never have another knee surgery. Then progressively loading to a standard of at least 25% of body weight per hand for 8 reps has helped a lot of us who just assumed we'd always be fragile and unathletic to actually get more protected and athletic than the norm. Through this harmony of strength, flexibility, and balance between sides, I believe we all have more mobility potential than is expected.
Now you're in the garage with Lucky and I here. Ugh. Such a good boy. He's my lucky charm on my videos back when I had like no subscribers on YouTube and not a very confident person. Do what works for you. For me, having Lucky with me has been my lucky charm. We're gonna look at exact application in terms of how often, in terms of details, and then long-term implications. So if we think about how often, in the Zero program, I allow up to 3 days per week, ideally every other day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And that's, you're working just body weight or even less than body weight. You're trying to get out of shit zone. But long term, I just like 1 day a week. So I just do 1 day a week. And what I currently have in the standards program is week A, we're elevating the heel. So regardless of what level you're at, elevating the heel is going to allow more coverage of the hamstrings over the calves. You could say more of a knee exercise. Not elevating the heel, some people will still get there, but it becomes a bit more of a glute and an inner thigh exercise. Now, for most people, heel down on flat ground probably won't ever happen with strict form. That doesn't mean you force it. So for most people, even once you get to flat ground with the heel elevated, you would then the other week, you would just elevate whatever you need to. You would work with the same weight you did in week A, and then you would dig into that glute as deep as you can. So that's the main application point that it sounds funny, but it's taken me like 10 years to come to that conclusion is, should the heel be up? Should the heel be down? Well, originally this was done in Olympic weightlifting. They wear an elevated heel. Then I learned this exercise in person with Charles Poliquin, who had us all wear Olympic weightlifting shoes. And I think this is where my biggest value is taking Charles Poliquin's genius. I do think he's the most genius trainer ever, and then making that accessible to the average, to the common person, because he only trained national level athletes or above, and I was far from that. And I happen to get more joy. I mean, whatever gives you joy gives you joy. I get more joy the fact that my mom can do this exercise at 68, 69 now. Sorry, Mom. She can do this on flat ground, which is what I want her to maintain on each side the rest of her life for longevity. The fact that she can run and things like that gives me more joy than helping someone win an Olympic medal. And I have had that experience now of helping someone win an Olympic medal, and it's awesome. But someone lost, someone won. They're both in the game. That's what gives me the joy. Whatever someone's game is, helping them be in the game. And I think this is the most powerful exercise to be in the game. And so in applying, my contribution was really on the side of assisting to get into it, because a lot of people I worked with, myself included, there was pain. And what I've seen is that even though you can work through a little pain, I found best results when you work through no pain. You find the level that doesn't hurt, you put in reps there and get better. I think you get less breakdown of, the internal stuff, more building, faster recovery. So that's the basic of it. Is I do think when you're getting out of shit zone, you can do it 3 times a week. Then I think for long term, just once a week, and alternate, no matter how good you are, alternate. 1 week heel up, 1 week heel down, best of both worlds. Now, long-term implications, and that's why I brought up the Nordic to look at some things. If I were to go heavier, but shorten up my range on a split squat, which is the most common thing that happens once someone starts to get good at it, am I really loading things more? So I've gone through lots of periods, and I've used bars on the back, bar on the front, and I think dumbbell is better. It doesn't mean someone can't use a bar, but it's kind of like this. With a dumbbell, as I get deeper, I get into a safer position the deeper I go. Whereas with a bar, it gets freakier the deeper you go. So I think the dumbbell encourages better form, more actual adaptation on the areas we're trying to. Your muscles and your body knows the load on them, not necessarily the load on the bar. And if we look at other exercises, like this is one that the greatest success stories occurred over like 5+ years of adaptation. And so here I'll do a weighted rep. So I did the technical form, and then, fighting the way down. The technical form, meaning when I exploded up, my shoulder did stay above my hip. Meaning if you're here, that's fine, but you wouldn't measurably know, did you handle it? However, let's take a rep without weight. I was probably able to stay a bit straighter, and even just fighting down as straight as I can. So it's very interesting to look at these things and think about the long term. And usually something like this full range of motion split squat would be used to get back into squatting. And then I've looked at programs, okay, the person does it for 6 weeks, and then that's it. And they're back able to squat. But what I've done is I've gradually gone, well, wait a second. That's what got me out of pain. For me and my goals, my lifetime dream, like in terms of a physical fitness dream, was to dunk a basketball. Trying, never able to do it.
Literally, I don't know if he could touch the rim with his fingertips with no basketball or anything else.
Gave up on it, then tried to rebuild my knees, then found out I could dunk a basketball. Why would I change what was working? And what happens if I just keep trying to get a little bit better at those things that made my body more protected? So it's almost like my philosophy is like, what's the most effective physical therapy type concepts, and then how do I turn that into a strength system? So could someone apply this and squat? Absolutely. I just posted in the YouTube community a guy who did the ATG program and then started applying it to powerlifting, and he shows how he applies ATG to squat 777 pounds. So it's not that I'm against squat. My powerlifting is basketball. That's what gives me joy. He's not playing basketball, I'm playing basketball. So my personal opinion is that when it comes to these type of exercises, I think the secret to finding out true athletic potential is mastering every rep, having your form get better, not worse, and treating ATG, aiming for perfect form, and then in your actual pursuit, that's where you go all out. So it's the same me, but now by trying to dunk, by putting more intent, my body can handle it and it can adapt more. Let's say you were sprinting, and let's say you're always getting injured sprinting and you were slow, because I've been there too. My hip flexors used to, to some degree, tear off the bone, the rectus femoris and the hip flexors, because I didn't know about split squats to lengthen them, and then direct hip flexor strengthening to strengthen them. So this is an example that for sprinting, the harder I try, I would get hurt. So then when you train your body in a way that you don't get hurt and you can try harder, now I think you can adapt more to it. So I actually don't think that the best way to jump higher is some special jumping drill. Not that there aren't good jumping drills or good sprinting drills, but that is just my gut instinct, is that if you look at the young Michael Jordan, that's never been matched on a basketball court by any jumping drills anyone has ever done. So Usain Bolt and these various examples, no one's gone into a weight room and been able to mimic that level of athleticism. So I think that the sport itself, life itself, whatever you like to do, let that be your thing. Use ATG to try to strategically make it so you can't get hurt doing that thing. Then you can gradually put more intention, and now your body, by putting that intent to do more, will now gradually adapt. So that's my take. Never know what I'm gonna get, honestly, when I go into the unscripted part. But to recap, I just think, sure, you could use it every other day getting started, but think of this as just a once a week long-term adaptation, never working through pain. What's better, heel up or heel down? Probably to alternate weeks, and to
constantly chase the perfect rep with ATG work instead of turning ATG work into a sport. All right, much love. See ya. Thanks from Lucky and I.